now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door takes on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess featuring a bonus pin-up and the other 2 books in the Cyber Goddess saga at online bookstores everywhere today. Before I get into today's lesson in comic book writing, I wanted to give everybody a progress report on the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. Now, the SJS Direct 2024 catalog is going to launch on March 22nd with John Haynes' Illuminati. And I have been working tirelessly to edit this book now that I've got the paperback proof from Amazon.com to make sure that it is of the best quality when it's officially released on March 22nd. And you can pre-order your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in digital format right now at Amazon.com, Smashwords, and Google Play. And in addition to John Haynes' Illuminati, I have the cover for Isis Dark Incubus from Bill Walko, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the only book I'm waiting for from Bill to give me the cover for is Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, and after he gives me that cover, I'll have all the covers for the SJS Direct 2024 catalog and the updated cover for Isis Amari's Revenge. And until then, you can pick up many of the books of the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And you can pick up the first full John Haynes comic, John Haynes, at Death's Door on Lulu.com, and that helps me to be able to stay on the air to continue making these comic videos that teach many readers and viewers about the craft of comic books. Now, I'm going in a brand new direction as related to comic videos, and that direction is one where I'm going to be teaching more about the craft of comic storytelling, and one where I'm going to be focused on teaching more about the techniques of comic writing. Now, a lot of viewers have written back to me and told me they really like my comic videos because they learn a lot about the craft of comic writing, and that's what I'm going to be putting a major focus on for more comic videos. And I wanted to do a lesson in comic book storytelling with these 4 trade paperbacks that I picked up about 10 or 12 years ago as related to the Diana Prince Wonder Woman run of comics. Now, I picked up this series of trade paperbacks on eBay for about $15 back in about 2011 or so as part of my research to write the Isis series, because as I was writing the Isis characters' new adventures, I wanted to get some insight on the Wonder Woman villain, Dr. Cyber, and learn some things about her as I was crafting some stories for the Isis series. And I also wanted to take a look at this run, which has been critically panned by a lot of comic fans, and I wanted to take a look at this run to see where the creators went wrong. Now, back in the late 1960s, as the feminist movement was going on, ironically, the Wonder Woman comic was struggling over at DC Comics. Now, back in the 30s, when William Moulton Marston created Wonder Woman, he created her to be a feminist icon. Unfortunately, as time went on, the Wonder Woman character basically wound up getting changed because of William Moulton Marston's sexual deviancy and his marriage to 2 women. So a lot of the themes that were in the original Wonder Woman comic were updated to reflect a more appealing idea for families and children as related to the character. And sadly, as these changes were made, the book basically wound up falling into a rut And as it fell into a creative rut, the book really wandered without much direction because the book either had stories which featured the Wonder Tot or a Wonder Girl, which was supposed to be a younger version of Diana, or it featured books that had these really kind of romantic themes of Diana wanting to have a relationship with Steve Trevor. However, Steve Trevor was in love with Wonder Woman. So it basically reminded a lot of people of the whole paradigm of Superman and Lois Lane. Unfortunately, the book did not sell very well, and DC was in a bit of a creative rut as related to the book. And with the feminist movement going on, they decided to change the direction of Wonder Woman to appear to be a bit more modern. Now, this new modern version of Wonder Woman was created by Denny O'Neil with the help of artist Mike Sekowsky and inker Dick Giordano, who is a legend as related to DC Comics. And they wanted Denny O'Neil to go out and revamp the character, similar to what they did with Oliver Queen's Green Arrow, who was a part of the hard-traveling heroes of Oliver Queen the Green Arrow, Hal Jordan the Green Lantern, and Green Arrow's girlfriend Black Canary. Now, that hard-traveling heroes was a huge hit for the Green Lantern book, which was renamed Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and they were hoping that Diana Prince's Wonder Woman, who would be completely changed from her superhero concept to more of an action-adventure character, would pay off the same kind of dividends for DC as related to the Wonder Woman character. So that's the main reason why they wanted to revamp the Wonder Woman character with this whole concept of Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, a mod woman who was going to be set for modern times and was going to be a regular woman having adventures in the DC universe and showing how strong a woman she was without her powers. That is the overall concept of Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, in a nutshell. And they did get inspired with the whole mod theme from the UK series, The Avengers, which had John Steed, I forget the actor's name, but they had the guy, Patrick Macnee, the late Patrick Macnee as John Steed, a English gentleman. And then they had Diana Rigg, the late Diana Rigg, as Emma Peel. And that's the appeal of this new Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. She's supposed to be like Emma Peel. Now, the whole concept of the Diana Prince Wonder Woman comic starts out not really modern, but with the classic Wonder Woman. And they're telling us to forget the old Wonder Woman because a new modern Wonder Woman is here. And that starts in issue 178, where we've got Steve Trevor, who's going undercover as related to a mission. And as he's going undercover on this mission, this is where we start to see some of the problems with the previous Wonder Woman run, where it's all about Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman having this romance, and it's just a bunch of meandering plots. It really doesn't go anywhere. But this is what leads to the whole story starting out as related to the new premise, because Steve Trevor is been jammed up as related to a trial, and Diana wants to find the evidence to help him, and that's what leads to her having issues as related to being Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman feels powerless to deal with these issues in her costume. So what she does is look to try to find a new direction where she isn't going to be the old Diana Prince with the glasses and the military uniform, and become this more modern character. Now, this is where she goes to meet with Steve Trevor in jail and come up with this plan to become this made-over Wonder Woman who's a bit more modern. And this mod take is what she tries to use to try to help Steve Trevor. Now, we get one final appearance of the classic Wonder Woman, who doesn't really fit into the new take that they're planning. And what they're planning to do is start to bring her in, again, introducing us with the modern this new mod version. And this new mod version is coming out of the military. She's basically, I think, been discharged from the military and looking to start a new life. And after she manages to get the evidence as related to this whole case of this dude, this is where we start to see the major change with the Wonder Woman character, because as she's become more modern, she's walking away from the romance, and as she walks away from the whole soft romance take of the books of the early run, what happens is we get this whole story where Steve Trevor is again on the run again, and as he's on the run, we got Diana going in a new direction as she's been modified. What happens is she goes back to Paradise Island, and as she goes back to Paradise Island, what she does is start to believe that she has to go out and do things in a new, more modern way. Now, as Diana is looking to do things in a new, more modern way, she gets a summons telepathically from Queen Hippolocha to return to Paradise Island, and as she's told to return to Paradise Island, she is told that Paradise Island must disappear, and it must disappear because they need to recharge the magic that powers the island. Now, Queen Hippolocha tells her that she has to make a choice between being a part of man's world and being a part of Paradise Island and being with the women on Paradise Island. And because Diana wants to be with Steve Trevor, she decides to make the choice to be with him. However, she has to sacrifice all of her powers, and as she sacrifices all of her powers, she decides to give up her powers to become not a Wonder Woman, but become a regular woman. And as she becomes a regular woman, she has to find a way to make a living. And as she's just left the military, she's decided to go out and go further mod by renting an apartment and opening up a mod store. And after she opens up the mod store, she runs into I Ching, who is this Asian blind karate martial arts master who kind of looks like Anthony Fauci. If you really look at him, he kind of looks like Anthony Fauci. But the whole thing is he's supposed to be her mentor in teaching her how to be able to use the martial arts. And this whole concept is supposed to be the new Wonder Woman, who is going to be a part of the modern world. And as she's a part of the modern world, we get Steve Trevor, who is in a bit of a jam with the new villain, Dr. Cyber. Now, this builds into a third issue, which is where she's running into all the people who work for Dr. Cyber, and this leads to the death of Steve Trevor and the beginning of the new modern Wonder Woman. Now, this new mod Wonder Woman has an adversary in Dr. Cyber, and sadly what they do with the Wonder Woman character is, as related to this modern story, is they never really give her that full character transformation arc that would allow the character to resonate with readers. And that's the great irony of this new Wonder Woman, is that in just the first 3 to 4 issues, they don't really commit to the premise, and this undermines the overall effectiveness of the story and prevents it from being able to emotionally resonate with the reader. Instead of letting the Diana character learn about how hard life is for regular women and have the strength of character to try to overcome as she experiences life as a regular woman for the first time, what the writers do here is basically cop out. And as they cop out, what they do is prevent the character from having that full character transformation arc that would allow the character to grow. Now, the character learns about the martial arts and this Dr. Cyber, who is her enemy, and also learns about the world of spies and all of that stuff that was cool in the 60s. But sadly, what they do in just a few issues is never really let this character really grow and change. And that really starts to show at the beginning of the end of the first story arc, where they really don't let the Wonder Woman character do what a heroine is supposed to do, in the beginning, and that is wind up losing as related to the first plot point. Now, in this whole first overall overreaching story arc, they set up some good premises, but they make one major mistake as related to writing, in that after Diana finds out that she has been betrayed by a guy that she got involved with, what she does is wind up in a situation where after she winds up getting betrayed, and I will show that right here, when she finds out she's been betrayed by this dude, who is this kind of dude right here. He's the guy who betrays her. What happens with Diana, instead of letting her suffer through that pain and suffer through the things that would allow her to grow, what they do is pull a plot twist where they wind up sabotaging the entire story by having Diana return to Paradise Island. Now, when it comes to regular women, when they have a heartbreak and a humiliation, what happens to those women is those women have to go through all of that pain, and they have to go through all of that pain and endure all of that pain, and that's how they build the strength of character to overcome in the face of adversity. Unfortunately, what they do here in issue 182, again, only 5 issues in, Diana winds up losing, and instead of letting her lose and deal with the pain that regular women deal with, they take her back to Paradise Island, and that makes the entire overreaching arc start to fall completely apart. Because if this is a story about a Wonder Woman learning about life as a regular woman, then she needs to go through the pain of heartbreak. She needs to go through the pain of losing. And I would even further have gone on to say that Dr. Cyber should have mopped the floor with Wonder Woman and show her that her martial arts were not that great, because she had only been trained in the martial arts for a few months. So there was still a lot for her to learn. Unfortunately, the editors at DC Comics didn't want the character to go through that pain, and because they didn't want the character to go through that pain, what that did was impede the growth of Wonder Woman as she experienced life as a regular woman, and showed that this new mod woman was actually weaker than the traditional woman, because a traditional woman would have to go through this emotional adversity and deal with emotions for the first time, because they said that, oh, Wonder Woman was like a man and that she didn't have emotions. Well, this would have been her chance to deal and navigate through those emotions, and that would have been some great character development, but the creators copped out here and really prevented the character from growing, and that was where the story started to fall apart as related to this run, because the writers didn't really want to go out here and create the overreaching arc that would allow the character to grow, and allow the character to grow in a way that would help the character showcase that a Wonder Woman with superpowers could learn how to take power in her own personal life by learning to have that strength of character, that discipline and resolve to overcome in the face of adversity. That is what could have been shown here with this Wonder Woman run, that Diana would learn how to live life like a regular woman, not be an Amazon who is pretending to be a woman, but experience all the things that a woman goes through in the world. That is where the writers started to see their story fall apart, because they didn't have the courage to go all the way with the overreaching arc that they had originally planned as related to this revamp. And as they didn't have the courage to go through, this basically started to make the structure of the story fall apart with Diana, and it also made it fall apart with who could have been an A-list villain with Dr. Cyber. Now, Dr. Cyber started out as a very interesting character, this kind of rich, kind of diva type chick, and she was this kind of rich diva type chick who basically was the antithesis to Diana and had just a relish and contempt for people and getting things done her way, and they never really pushed this character to the limit as related to creating that dynamic chemistry that Diana had with characters like the Barbara and Minerva Cheetah or other villains, and she could have been an A-list villain had they did her right and made her this kind of woman who was looking to use her feminine wiles to get after Wonder Woman, who didn't really know about life as a woman and was dealing with these struggles with emotions, dealing with these struggles as related to her femininity. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, and they wound up copping out, and this is where the story went from falling apart to collapsing, because they disfigured Dr. Cyber instead of making Dr. Cyber into the formidable threat that she could have been by being this woman who had life experience as a woman and would have done all of the things that women do, because a lot of women, they're petty, they're very jealous, and they love to humiliate other women because women don't like other women, and that could have been a core point of the story for Diana to learn about women, learning that women are not all good, and that a lot of these women out here who want to have power, they want to use power for evil, and they just want to do evil things. That could have been a major story point as related to making this character more relatable, but instead of developing this character in a way that would make her interesting, what they do is go and burn up her face, and when they burn up her face, it basically destroys this entire run, because what people really wanted to see is Dr. Cyber wipe the floor with Wonder Woman due to her life experience as a woman, and show that Diana a road where she was going to have to build a discipline and resolve in order to navigate life as a woman. That would have been a much better overreaching arc than what was presented in later issues of the Diana Prince run, because in later issues of the Diana Prince run, we get Dr. Cyber turned into a woman wearing a mask, and wearing a mask because she's been disfigured and wants to go out here and take Diana's beauty, taking away from the beauty of the character, who really would have been a much more interesting character had she acted like a regular woman, looking to humiliate Diana, and looking to humiliate Diana because that's the way women operate. Not regular women operate in that they have disdain for other women. They're jealous of other women. They want to see another woman basically broken down in front of them as their social status is elevated. That is how most women operate, and that part of Villainy was basically not presented, and it really undermined this entire run of comics and took away from who could have been an A-list villain, because they were saying, oh, she wanted to take Diana's face, and that whole story point was absolutely ridiculous, and this character went from being a character who could have been up there with Lex Luthor to becoming a joke of a character who became a footnote in Wonder Woman lore, and that was all due to the writers not really committing to the overreaching arc and looking to transform the Diana Prince character by letting her experience life as a regular woman. That was all undermined by the writers and the editors at DC Comics, who didn't have the courage to, in this age of feminism, make the Wonder Woman character a strong woman who had the strength of character to persevere in the face of adversity. That's what I saw as a major problem with this overreaching arc of this run that made it one of those that was critically panned, and it became critically panned because the writers didn't commit effectively to this run, and because they didn't commit effectively to this run went from one of the ones that could have been a classic as related to the entire deconstructed story model to one that is barely a footnote in comic book history that most people forgot to even care about. And people don't have a reason to care because these books that were made during the age of feminism showed how Wonder Woman, ironically, wasn't a strong woman. and wasn't strong enough to be able to deal with the adversities that and issues and hardships that women deal with. I mean, if a guy breaking her heart has her running back to Paradise Island instead of staying in her mod apartment the way other women do when they have a guy who breaks their heart, then it shows that the Wonder Woman isn't very strong, and that was a major point as related to this entire run that made it one of the weaker runs in comic book history. Now, this run gets even worse as it goes on, because after Gloria Steinem at Ms. Magazine decided that she didn't like the new Wonder Woman, what they do in DC Comics after the Ms. Magazine article came out was decide that they want to go back to the classic Wonder Woman, and they do so in a very awkward way, not within a good organic transition. No, they do it very abruptly, and they do it very abruptly with a story that's just contrived to just get us back to where it is, where they wind up killing I Ching, and after they kill I Ching, we have Diana going to try to stop some bad guys, and as she stops some bad guys, she winds up falling out of a building and winds up out here and going in the air in a plane out of nowhere. Again, none of this really makes any sense organically. And then she falls into the water with this shark who takes her back to Paradise Island. And as she's taken back to Paradise Island, she gets all of her memories as Diana Prince erased. And this is a major insult to all women as I see it, because you're saying that life as a regular woman was too hard for Wonder Woman, and because you had Gloria Steinem, the white feminist, going out here and complaining about the Wonder Woman being taken away, DC Comics simps out and brings back Wonder Woman in one of the most convoluted fashions known to man. And this whole convoluted fashion of bringing back Wonder Woman really undermines the whole feminist movement, ironically, because you have Wonder Woman out here basically just brought back to say that she's a strong woman, but she doesn't go through any of the hardships and adversity that women go through, and doesn't come out of the experience learning anything. And we're made to believe that, oh, she's a Wonder Woman because she's in the arena with this mysterious woman in the armor. And as she's in the arena with this mysterious woman in the armor, we get to see, oh, it's all about diversity, because she's in a arena with the Wonder Woman of the floating island, Nubia. So they've given us a token diversity black woman in Nubia. And sadly, all of the growth and character development of Wonder Woman that could have been there never really came to actualization. And that is the whole sad part about these 4 paperbacks, is that we have a great opportunity to develop the Diana Prince character and have her experience something that readers could have related to, but because the writers didn't have the courage to go out and just take the story all the way as related to the deconstructed story model and show us, oh, Diana Prince, what makes her a hero is what's inside. Sadly, we don't get that at all. And instead of having that resonance that had as related to Oliver Queen when he wound up losing his fortune and became this leftist Green Arrow that was an icon of the 70s, what we got here with the Diana Prince Wonder Woman was a woman you wonder what it was the issue with her at all, because she never got to grow. And that was something that I took from this series of trade paperbacks as I was doing my research for the ISIS series. As I was doing my research for the ISIS series, I wanted to make sure that the ISIS character always grew from her experiences, always went through adversity, went through hardship, and even though the ISIS character is a goddess, I wanted to focus on those character flaws as related to her feeling inadequate about being a woman, having her struggle with life as a regular woman, and deal with all of the issues that regular women deal with, because those stories would resonate with readers and really allow them to connect with her. And that's what I did with the overall overreaching arc of the Isis character, as I showed her coming into life in the 21st century after leaving the world for 40 years. I wanted to show how the Isis character had to deal with a different world that had completely changed, and I wanted to show how the teacher in the 20th century became a student in the 21st century, and I wanted to show how this teacher becoming the student was going to learn about life as a woman in the 21st century and learn about the dangers of different kinds of women who were not really these so-called good women like feminists want you to believe. Oh, they're out here working and stuff. But what I wanted you to see that there is good and bad in women, and I wanted to show that with the Isis character. And I took from this Wonder Woman run that you really want to show women going through adversity, going through pain, and growing as a result of it, because you should learn something as the experience of these stories. And that's something that many writers don't want to do with heroines. They don't want to see the characters go through anything, and that really prevents these characters from really connecting with readers. But that's something I wanted to do with the Isis character. Now, with the Dr. Cyber, I saw a villain that had great potential, and that's when I decided to take ideas from that villain and add them to a story I called The Beauty Myth, with a villain I called Rahima Sanders, who owned the Sepia Cosmetics Company, which was inspired by Sephora and Ebony Fashion Fair Cosmetics. And with that whole point of the story, I wanted to show how this villain could be interesting if they're allowed to have that character transformation arc that shows them for the monster that they are, and have that jealousy that I know a lot of women have for other women, and that effort to try to humiliate another woman. That's what I put in Isis the Beauty Myth, and the story that followed up, which was Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, because Rahima coveted Isis's immortality and her beauty, and I used that to create layers and contrast that could have been a part of this whole overreaching arc. But the whole thing is that they at DC Comics didn't have the courage to go out here and put the Wonder Woman character through adversity. And again, great irony, because the feminist movement told us that women could be strong, but we see with this run that Wonder Woman as a regular woman wasn't presented as very strong in facing adversity and hardship, because the writers copped out. But had they not copped out, I believe they could have had a classic run, and that could have been one that people would remember for decades for good reasons, in the same way that people remember the Captain America No More, the Captain storyline, which deconstructed Steve Rogers and showed us that Steve Rogers was a hero even if he didn't have the costume, or the Iron Man storyline in that same time period where Tony Stark wound up losing his company, but still showed that he was a hero even in the face of overcoming the challenge of alcoholism. There was a lot of great character transformation, but you've got to have the courage to go through letting that character grow, letting that character change, letting that character learn, because if the character doesn't learn, then the reader doesn't really learn anything at all about challenges in life. And that's what the big problem was with this run of Wonder Woman comics, where we had Diana Prince out here being a regular woman, and I wonder why the creators just didn't have the courage to go out and let the character go through the adversity she needed to go through to show that she's a hero on the inside through and through. Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu.com right now in paperback, and you can pick up your own copy for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. And again, the SJS Direct 2022 catalog starts out with John Haynes' Illuminati on March 22nd, and again, you can pre-order your copy on Amazon.com or in digital format, or you can wait for the paperback to drop on March 22nd. And I also, again, work on books featuring heroines like the Isis series and the Esteem series, And if you want to pick up the adventures of the goddess next door, you can find those adventures in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can pick up essential books in the Isis series like Isis the Beauty Myth, Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, and Isis Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and Bride of Dracula. You can find all of those books in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, along with the Esteem series books and the first Esteem comic, No Good Deed, which you can find for Kindle for 99 cents. You can find all those books on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. And if you want to help me make the next SJS Direct comic, which I want to feature with the goddess next door, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror of the Hyena Woman. Hell's Aspiring Angel takes on a wicked werewolf in this action-packed all-new Esteem series adventure. Get Esteem Horror of the Hyena Woman in paperback and e-readers today. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.